So let me explain to you what we're doing. Let me explain to you who I am first, if none of you know already. My name is Brian Houlihan. I've got a few restaurants down here in the South Shore. Because we're getting close to the end of the summer, we said we'll do a nice outside dining segment this morning. Take advantage of the views we got here down in Hull. This is the Parrot. Hull, the old red Parrot, was here for about 27 years. And we took it over about 2 years ago. But, you know, since COVID happens, it seems like it's been a decade or so. But it's tipping away nicely. You got something up on the screen there. This is not signed. Sorry.
Don't worry about it. You're on this one.
Okay. So we got 5 restaurants altogether down here in the South Shore. The first one being Abbey Bistro in Cohasset. That was my original restaurant. It's been around for about 17 years. Yeah, I opened that one when I was 2 years of age. It's amazing. It's amazing. But yeah, it's been around a long time. I was the chef at the Bostonian Hotel in Boston before that, and opened up beer when I was 29. From there, we opened the Tinkerson in Norwell about 5 years after that. So that's going on 11 or 12 years. Another 5 years passed, and we opened up Gillian in Scituate Harbour. Then a couple of years after that, we opened up Trident in Hingham shipyard, and we opened up this about a year, just about a year ago. A year on the 4th of July. Eat South Shore is super important to us. It's been
Hold on, Brian, you got muted for some reason. Hold on.
You're
muted.
Okay. I got it.
Is that better? Can you hear me? Great.
Yes, great. Thanks.
What did you hear? Did you hear about my first garden? We started quite a bit of my life. The whole thing comes up.
I need to mute this. Sorry about that.
This is our first one, so we're trying.
There you go. Is that better?
Yes. You were just about to talk about Eat South Shore, Brian.
Yeah, East South Shore has been super important to us. It's been something that we started developing a couple of years ago, and it's been great. You know, I knew most of the people on it already, or a lot of them actually. Heather's done a great job the last year or so. You just went off.
What?
We're back on. The last year or so, getting a lot more restaurants involved. Originally, it was just, a group of probably 6 or 8 of us that all knew each other. But Heather's done a great job getting new membership and stuff. So it's important to get more people involved. But it's a great way for us to bounce ideas off each other and get special events done and that kind of thing. It's great. We look forward to doing a lot more with them in the future. We miss doing those events, even though we consider them a pain a lot of the time. But September's our usual month when we do a ton of charity events. But generally, they all call for lots of attendees and stuff, which obviously is not happening this year. Let's get in while we figure out all our questions and answers and all the good questions you have for me. Let's talk about what we're going to create here for you guys this morning. We're going to do a little razor clam ceviche. My friend Greg Morris, who's a oyster farmer down in Duxbury Bay, has 2 Rock Oyster Farms. They sell to Duxbury Oyster Company. Also clams, so he goes out and gets razor clams, a couple times a month depending on the tide, and then we'll try to do something cool with them because they're awesome, right? And they're a little bit different. Everyone can still hear me, yeah? Good. The 4 of you I can see on my screen can hear me, and that's all that matters. Sorry, Heather, I can't see you. Is that a question? Nope.
No.
You're in charge of questions, Donovan.
Trying.
Razor clam, what I did before we came up here on the deck, because I have no cooking apparatus, is I steamed off some razor clams, right? So as you can, the same ones you see washed up on the beaches everywhere around here. Well, at least we know when they're coming from Duxbury Harbour, they're nice and clean. We don't have to send them out to get cleaned because of the filtration in the bay with all the oysters and stuff keeps the water pristine down there. So what we did, we just steamed them off briefly. Even though we're doing a ceviche here, we steamed these just so the shells open up, just enough to be able to get the meat out of them. Ceviche is one of these like trendy dishes that's been around for a million years, right? People think it's this tough dish to make at home, but it's not. It's one of the simplest dishes you can do. Originated in like Peruvian descent, and it's basically ceviche. Something is to actually cook it. A lot of people say it's raw. I don't want to eat raw food. It's actually, you are actually cooking it, but you're acidulating it rather than cooking it. So you're cooking it with acid. It takes a little while to cook in the acid. It's kind of like curing, like how you would cure a piece of prosciutto or you'd cure some duck confit. You do the same thing when you're making ceviche, but it's just curing it in acid. So we just steam them briefly to release them from the shell. And then just to prepare the meats itself, we just remove the clam right from the shell. And then the part we want to use for this dish is basically, it's called the foot of the clam. So we want to remove the outer, basically just this white part right down here. And we'll just keep this off to the side. And that's what we're going to use for the ceviche. This other belly meat, as we call it, is not to be discarded. It's delicious, but just for this dish, we're not using it. But this kind of stuff is fantastic when chopped up. Put in stuffed clams. You can chop it up and throw it in next time you're making a chowder at home, which I know you guys do regularly, right? Everybody makes their own chowder. So next time you're making it, throw some of these in there. Stuffed clams, whatever you're doing, they have some great flavor, but they've got a little bit too much belly meat in them for this dish. So I'll just go ahead and I'll remove some more of these feet. You guys are all super quiet or else you're all muted. Either way, works for me.
Brian, there is a question from Gillian Faye at Glastonbury. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
I fire Brian.
I'm going to unmute. Gillian, you can ask.
Oh. Hi guys. Hi Brian, Gillian Faye from Glastonbury, Abbey. I'm good. How are you doing?
I hope you come to Bia all the time.
What's that?
I hope you come to Bia all the time since you're just around the corner.
Well, I actually go there to the Parrot because it's got the best view. Absolutely beautiful.
It is. Thank you. What's that?
My question is, out of the 5 restaurants that you run, do you have a favorite?
I always say my restaurants are like my kids. I got 4 kids and I got 5 restaurants, right? And you always say which one's your favorite. It's kind of like, you know, which kid is your favorite? One of them's always upsetting you, pissing you off. One of them's always good. It depends on the day of the week. Which one is your favorite? Yeah. You know, I would always say Tinker's Son is my favorite on St. Patrick's Day, except this year where we were closed, so it was not my favorite. But you know, it's kind of like whichever restaurant's busier at the time. It all depends on staffing. I don't have a favorite. You know, the good thing about them is, as you know, coming to them, they're all diverse, right? You can go and have a quick tapas and a beer at Galley, or you go for a nice date night at Bia, or come and grab a lobster roll at Galley, or at Parrot or Trident. They're all a little bit different depending on your mood. And that's how I am, right? Maybe it's the ADD, who knows? But I'm not a big guy on favorites.
Right. Thanks, Brian.
Where are you from? Northern Ireland?
Yep, Belfast.
Belfast, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here's our clams. Anybody else got a question before I move on to cooking? Raise your thumbs, your hands. Just butt in, no problem. So here's some clams that we've removed from the shell. We're just going to go ahead and slice these really thin. That way they'll cook quickly in the lime juice.
Brian, Serenity has a question.
Shoot.
Hi. Oh, I'm super excited about this. I love to watch cooking, and I love food. Some of my family also owns restaurants, so this is fun to see. So they actually they have a vegetarian restaurant in Virginia, so not anywhere near here. But my question is, so we have some family members that have dietary restrictions, specifically gluten-free. So going out can be a challenge at times, because when a restaurant doesn't take their allergies seriously, or they can get really sick. My 9-year-old specifically can't have gluten. So do any of your restaurants offer that, or can we're looking to expand our repertoire of places to go, but obviously I can't go to a restaurant if my kid can't eat there.
What does she not eat, or what's her allergy?
She has celiac disease, so she can't have gluten.
Celiac, correct?
Yes. So it's serious. So it's not.
Severe gluten allergy, absolutely. The good thing about restaurants, right, is that our restaurants are chef driven. So all of our restaurants have a chef there all the time. Not just cooks, but we've got a chef manager and they're all trained in allergies and everything like that. So the biggest thing about allergies is that when you know where your food is coming from and you make it all fresh, there's pretty much every dish you make can be customized, right? According to what the allergy is. We don't do any prepackaged food. Everything is fresh. You might want, you might come in, you might want the salmon dish, and that might come with a potato cake that has, bound with a little bit of flour or something. We can absolutely make you a salmon dish there, but we will just change the accoutrement, right? We'll do it with some roasted potatoes and vegetables to go alongside it. So all of our restaurants all the time are, I'm not a big believer in, allergy menus, just giving people a small idea of what we have to offer, when we can pretty much customize any dish at any time to be either shellfish, gluten, whatever your allergy is. Make it like gluten-free or absolutely celiac, which we take more seriously than someone who just has a gluten intolerance. You'll get a lot of people who are like, oh, we're gluten-free, or we can't eat gluten, and then I'll be like, well, the dish is, the dish, we'll change the sauce or whatever. And they're like, oh no, we'll be okay. They're obviously not celiacs, right? But they're probably worried because their diet will be off course for tomorrow. But no, we take allergies super seriously. And again, in all of our restaurants, we can definitely accommodate celiacs or any kind of allergy. All the, to be open in Massachusetts, and depending on the town, right, we have restaurants in 5 different towns, but there has to be a member of staff on the floor at all times that are allergy certified. I hope that answers your question. You guys still hear me? Sweet. So here we go, just slicing some clams. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put these right in here. Just some sliced clams, as you saw. We're gonna move this stuff over here. Flip my board. So the most important thing when you're making ceviche, right, is it's got to have a pretty high citrus acid content. We're going to go use lemons. You can use limes too, because B wants to get in there. He knows it's delicious. That's what you get for outside dining. Brian, actually, yeah. Can you go grab 2 of the long plates to serve this on? Yeah. With a little bit of greens or something underneath. Go ahead and slice some limes right open. Fork right here. I don't like any of those fancy lime juicers. But depending on what you're pressing in your little lime juicer, you're not getting all the juice out. Best way to do it is fork. fork it, squeeze it, get all the juice every time. So you pretty much want to submerge your clams in the lime juice. A nice fresh summery dish. Can be customized to whatever. If you got scallops, you want to. The main thing when you're doing ceviche is that it's got to be fresh fish, right? Because you're not doing anything really to mask it. So this is my. You need an overhead camera. Heather, can you work on an overhead camera for the next Zoom?
Yes, I'll work on that. I'll work on it. Serenity has another question actually, which is really great.
Go ahead.
So how did you get into this industry? Like, did you have a mentor or somebody that really encouraged you to pursue this? Like, what kind of compelled you to go into the cooking and hospitality industry?
Weird, right? I grew up in a house with. I'm just trying to impress you guys with my knife sharpening skills. I grew up in a house with 5 women, my 4 sisters and myself. I was the baby by a pretty much long time. So I grew up with my sisters and my mother doing all the cooking at the house. And then when I was, always kind of, trying to figure out what I was doing in life. I don't know why, but at 13, I thought I needed to know exactly what I was doing in life or my life was over. So I was trying to figure out, thought of getting into the family business. My father said no. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And my mother just said, hey, Brian, you enjoy cooking. You enjoy doing this. You enjoy doing that. Why don't you give it a shot? So my buddy was another 13-year-old entrepreneur, kind of ahead of his time, bartender. We call him a bartender. He was more like a bar back down in a local hotel and said, Brian, they're looking for people to help in the kitchen. So I went down to a local hotel at 13, started washing dishes and doing a little bit of prep. The chef turned around and said, I want to learn how to be a chef. He said, well, we can't pay you. I'm like, well, obviously you can't. But they hired me twice a week to clean ashtrays and collect bottles from the tables. And 3 nights a week I was unpaid working in the kitchen and sort of really fell in love with it. Fell in love with it right there and then. I left school at high school. In Ireland, you can kind of, there's an intermediate exam before you leave an exam. I kind of left after my intermediate exam at 15, went into a hotel management school, kind of like a VOTEC, 2 years professional cookery, where I worked in a Michelin star restaurant in Ireland and a couple of other really, really good places. Came over here came over to the States when I was 18 and started working in the Harvard Club. And there is where I started grooming my skills. My mentor there, Michael Gallagher, was a really good mentor to me. And he sort of showed me the way in working in Boston. From there, went to the Four Seasons to the Bostonian, and then did our own thing. You want to click out of that real quick?
Yep.
I'm getting a call, sorry. We just clicked out of it. Whoever's trying to call me, I'm sorry. You're not as important as the Zoom meeting. All right. So in here right now, we've got our all that we have right now are our clams and our lime juice, right? We're gonna add some vegetables, basically onions and peppers. You're cleaning an onion, you just want to remove the outer skin. Then because we're serving this back in the shell, we want to do a nice small dice, or like a brunoise dice, as we call it, or as French people call it. Irish people just mimic it. So when you're slicing your onion, if you can see this, you're going to slice down, we're going to slice across to get a nice fine dice. I'm just kidding. That was just for dramatic effect. Donovan got scared.
You got me.
I scared my director. Again, as you can see, a nice small fine dice. I know you're all muted. That's why I can't hear the applause. But that's okay. I can see you guys. I can see you guys applauding me. I don't need to hear it. It's okay. I don't do this. Oh, there you go. When you're cleaning a pepper, I show this to my cooks all the time. It seems like all of them. I have to show them about all the time. When you're cleaning a pepper, so you get zero waste, right? Just cut it in half. Just remove the stem. You see some people taking the tops off, taking the bottoms off, trying to clean it off. This way, everything we're going to use here is there's zero waste except for the stem. Again, a nice small dice. So we're just going to kind of fillet our pepper. What a day, huh?
It's a beautiful day to go to the Parrot for lunch and dinner, right, Brian?
Ceviche. Really hoping for an Indian summer of some sort this year because it's super hard to heat a deck when you're right next to the beach. I'm just going to clean up a jalapeno as well. A little bit of spice in here, super important.
Brian, do you have a favorite dish that you love to create, or where do you get your inspiration for new dishes?
You know, the great thing about cooking is that you get, you know, when you've been doing this as long as I have, when you've worked with so many cooks, you've worked with so many different cuisines and type of people. That's why all our restaurants are a little bit different, right? It's very hard for me to figure out exactly what my food delivery, exactly what I want to do when I grow up. So it's all of our restaurants are a little bit different because you learn stuff every day, you know, and it could just be simple. You know, you might hire a new woman in the kitchen that does dishes and whatever, and she might be from Ecuador, she might be from wherever, and they'll, you know, when we're creating stuff, we're making a family meal, or they'll try to make a dish, and from there you might put together a nice little empanada recipe. You know, there's it's amazing. Inspiration comes from everywhere, right? Yeah, we do a lot of research, but I feel like I'm not the kind of chef that's going to be, when I hire new guys, new chefs, new cooks, I'm never one to say, you know, this is my way and that's the only way to do it. When I finally make that decision, that's the only way to do it. But when we're devising menus and this kind of stuff, or you're getting to see how people are, I love them to be creative. And you learn stuff from the people around you every day, you know? Inspiration comes from everywhere. You know, we do a lot of tours with the staff. We go out to my buddy's oyster farm. We go out to my buddy's lobster boat. We go to Holly Hill Farms. You know, we go to a lot of different restaurants and just see what people are doing right now and try to make it interesting. Listen to our guests, follow trends to a certain extent, but just, you know, or take stuff from them and make them our own. You know, so it's cuisine is always, you know, changing. People's tastes are always changing. We try to stay with it. You know, travel's important too. Remember those good old days when we used to be able to travel? It was awesome. You know, you go to Puerto Rico. I remember going to Puerto Rico a couple of years ago, and you know, you're in a little beach shack, and you're like, I want a whole fish. So, the chef owner will go over and he'll get you a whole fish. I'll be like, he'll bring down a bowl with 3 different fish, and I'll be like, what kind of fish is this? And he's like, it's fish. And I'm like, cool, I'll have one of those. I'll have one of those fish. You know, it's some red, some blue, some green fish we've never seen this side of the ocean before. But just to see how simply they can turn around and turn that into an awesome dish is learning. And then we'll refine it, right? We'll refine it to the kind of restaurant we're working in. You know, Tinkers is obviously more family friendly, more hearty. You know, you go there to get sustenance. You go there with your family to enjoy a big meal that you can share. And you know, but we can take the same cut of meat that we use there to keep the same technique and just put a little bit of a different feel on it and serve it in beer, you know. So we'll do the braised short ribs that we serve with mashed potatoes and vegetables and Tinkers. Super similar to the braised short ribs that we serve in beer, only we serve them with, like, you know, blue cheese, homemade blue cheese potato gnocchi, you know. So it's just the accoutrements might change a little bit, but everything's got a different flavor. So I put my onions, I put my peppers in there. Here I've got my cilantro. I'm saying that because the cilantro didn't show in yet, and I'm not a liar. I might be a lot of things. Won't believe my ex-girlfriends. I'm not a liar. This is parsley. It's supposed to be cilantro. The cilantro hasn't shown up yet. But a nice shipping out of cilantro. Well,
Susan has a question for you, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
hello.
My husband is a frequent patron at the galley. Have you considered doing your own TV show? I think you'd be awesome. All the ladies like your accent.
We may have to if this COVID thing lasts any longer, you know? I've actually been asked, there's been a couple of times when we've been asked to do different things. We were asked to do something for the TV Food Network at one point, but we were opening restaurants, and it's you know, my thing is we're boots on the ground. You know, last night we were done with prepping, and I'm in painting the new room. We're in sanding, we're painting. We put a lot of effort into the restaurants as we're opening them. And it's not like, even though I do have chefs, obviously I have great managers and I have great chefs, we're very much hands-on as an ownership, the ownership being me basically. And am I a micromanager? I don't think I'm a micromanager, but I like to be involved in everything we do. And when you're doing any of these shows, you generally have to be away for quite a while. To be on like Hell's Kitchen or to be on Chop, that takes, you know, Hell's Kitchen was like an 8-week ask they were asking for. You have to go to California for 8 weeks, and whether you win the first round or not, you still have to stay out of the state for like 8 weeks till the show is over. And even Chopped and those kind of ones, they take generally a good week or a week or so to go across the country, and just haven't found the time. But who knows? Maybe in retirement. If I keep my childish good looks, maybe in retirement. So as we said, lime juice, peppers, onions, jalapeno, cilantro, and then we'll just balance the acid. This is just agave syrup. We'll just balance the acid and the lime juice with some agave, some salt and pepper, which I hid here underneath. There you go. So now when we were talking, and we've been talking, the important way we did this is that we started everything in the lime juice. So now the laser clams have been sitting in lime juice for about 15 minutes, right? Since we've been chatting and we've been talking about my childhood and my aspirations to be the next Gordon Ramsay and all the opportunities I missed in my life. Thanks for bringing them up. I won't sleep for days. But the clams have been sitting in lime juice, so they're actually cevicheed at this point. They're cooked through. They're nice and tender. And then we added everything else to it. So the other flavors are going in there right now. And everything's coming together really well. I wish we had real cilantro, but again, I don't lie. I can't lie. I cannot tell a lie. So a cool way to serve this is right back in the shell. There we go. Just a nice, simple presentation. Serve this with a nice glass of Albarino or a nice Sauvignon Blanc, and you've got a great healthy appetizer. Enjoy. Come down and get one for lunch. Thank you. I see somebody clapping in the corner. Where are we at with time, Brian? This is my Gillian. You know, is it Gillian? What's that morning show? Kelly.
Oh, yes, yeah.
You bring in the directory in once in a while, especially during these Zoom calls. All you guys have got office jobs. We sit at home in bed at 10 o'clock in the morning watching the Today Show and that kind of stuff. But when you guys are in bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, we're still out working. This is an early morning for us.
Thank you very much for doing it. Does anybody else have any questions for Brian? Oh, I think Julie wanted to know where you grew up in Ireland.
Was I single? Is that what she said?
Yeah. No.
Just outside Cork City, so Ballincollig. It's a small town, like basically a suburb of Cork City, a sprawling metropolis of Cork City, which is a relatively small town too, right? So it's about 6 miles outside of Cork City. I did a lot of, even as a kid, when I started cooking at 13 and 14, you know, again, growing up the baby of 6, I thought I was 30 when I was 13. So at 13, 14 years of age, I was working all over the country. So we did a lot of work in Glenday, West Cork, down in Kerry, down in Kinsale, which is known as the gourmet capital of Ireland. It's a great place to learn how to cook, right? And you don't appreciate it, just like everybody else. Who appreciates it? People who grow up in Hull appreciate what you have behind you. It's beautiful. I live in Scituate, and I drive down Jerusalem Road every day to come to work, and blows my mind how beautiful an area we live in. But just like that, when you're a kid growing up in Ireland, you don't appreciate it either, but or as much as you should. Right? A couple of years ago, I had just when we purchased this place, before we opened, I was asked to go to Ireland to cook in the West Cork Food Festival, which is amazing. It's one of the biggest food festivals. It goes on for pretty much a whole month in West Cork, and I was asked to go represent a couple of restaurants down there. So I went over for like 3 weeks. It was my longest vacation since I've been in the country. But again, vacation, I spent 2 of those weeks working. But just then going to the heart of West Cork, which is super rural, right? You're talking rural area of Cork where no public transportation, no nothing. And be able to get in there with the farmers and the fishermen. I did two dinners, one in Bantry and one in Skibbereen over the course of a couple of nights. And I was able to say to the 60 customers that I cooked for that, you know, everything that you ate tonight, I mean, we did 5 courses, everything that you ate tonight, none of the food on your plates, except for the saffron, which came from Spain, and the risotto rice, the arborio rice that came from Italy, came from more than 5 miles from where we actually prepared it, right? We went to the duck farms and we got the ducks. We hand dug the potatoes, literally, you know. That's an Irish stereotype, but it actually happens. You know, we harvested sea salt from the ocean. We got our own mussels and clams, and we were able to produce something that was super farm to table. Irish people are super, super proud of their cuisine, even though we get the bad stereotype. That's because a lot of you guys grew up with Irish American mothers who didn't know how to cook. I had an Irish mother, and if I say that I learned all my cooking skills from my mom, God rest her soul, I would never have a restaurant because she wasn't that great, to be perfectly honest. But what can you do? But immersing yourself in what's around you, and we can do the same thing down here. You know, going to Holly Hill Farms, going to the local lobster guy, going on to Mulaney's Fish, talking to Joby and seeing what they've got fresh that day. Just immersing yourself with what's around you is one of the most important things about cooking, you know, and it keeps me going every day.
Thanks, Brian. Love it. Anybody else have any questions? Raise your hand if you do. All right. Well, thank you very much, Brian. We really appreciate it. I think this was great. Everybody, yeah, good. So our next one will be October 16th with Tom Coleman from Live Creative Cuisine in Marshfield. So, and the same deal, $10 gift card. So, and we're really happy that you chose to support this program and support Brian and his restaurants. And you'll get your gift cards next week.
Bring down your $10 gift card. We'll make sure to be able to give you a half a glass of wine or something. I'm kidding. Come on down.
Thanks, Brian. Oh, Brian, somebody did ask how many of your restaurants have outdoor seating? So super important.
All of them actually right now. So thank God. And we consider ourselves super lucky. I was on the steps of the State House a couple of days ago fighting for you know, the government to look at what we're going through, and you know, I'm part of this organization, the Mass Restaurant United, and basically we're trying to get all our independent restaurants together to get a little bit more of a seat at the table of what's going on, right? Because you know, there's lots of bailouts going on. There has been bailouts for other things. This has crippled restaurants. You know, this has really crippled restaurants. We were like the first people hit. Imagine coming up to the busiest day of the year for us, being no matter what restaurant we have. It can be the Parrot on the 4th of July. It doesn't matter. Our busiest day of the year as a restaurant group is St. Patrick's Day at the Tinker's Son. If any of you has ever been, if you haven't been, you don't know what you're missing. But you know, we'll do a month's worth of business in a weekend, and you know, we were prepared for that. We were ready to go, and you know, that takes a lot of work. Obviously, corned beef doesn't cook in an hour, so that's something that you have to be prepping up a couple of days in advance. Bringing in all our musicians, bringing in all our bands, all my staff. That's where they make their money. That's where they make their money for, you know, for a month is that weekend, and everyone works super hard. Everyone's excited about it. There's months of planning, and then it was taken away just like that the day before, and it crippled us, you know. That being said, being on the South Shore with views like this and a deck like this, and you know, Trident's got a great patio. Bia's got a great patio. Deck, Tinks has got a nice deck. People in Scituate have been great. Have left us go out onto the sidewalk and put little barriers up where we can serve as well. So all of our restaurants is outside dining right now, and you know, we need everyone's help. You know, it's been crazy, and it's going to. Somebody said to me yesterday, "Hey Brian, you're like, looks like you guys are doing great on the patios and the decks." I'm like, "Yeah, it's great. We're lucky to have what we have." But I said, it's like going into the 4th quarter of a football game, right? And you're already down 100 points, and your quarterback's got a busted shoulder, your receiver's torn his Achilles, and you know you have to continue the game, even though you have 0 chance of winning the match. And that's the way we are this year. So it's like, you know, we come off, and you know, as a restaurateurs and chefs and managers, we got this thing where we're always trying to stay afloat. But it's you know, support your local restaurant. It just doesn't have to be mine. I want it to be mine, of course. But the other people in East South Shore, they all have great restaurants, and they need your support. It doesn't matter how big they are, and you might say, you know, oh, Almanove is great. They're backed by Wahlberg. It doesn't matter. The bigger you are, the more you have to lose, basically. You know, if we only had one restaurant, we probably wouldn't be hurting as much as we are with 5. So, you know, please support everything from your local pizza shop to your restaurant, and understand that eating outside's important, but we're coming close to the end of that. You know, as I said, heaters are great, but they really don't work that well. They're for their ambiance. When you're sitting outside, no one's going to be sitting outside in December or November with heaters. And we'll get through it. You know what I mean? We'll get through it. We'll just march on. That's what we do, and we'll regroup and start another game next year.
Terrific. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
You're in the,
everybody.
hi. I spend a lot of time in the Parrot, but the summer is ending now. So now this time of year, September, I generally hop around all the other restaurants because this is the time of year I get with all the chefs and we redesign our menus going from summer into fall. So I spend a lot of times in each of the restaurants. So make sure you say hi.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks you, Brian.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Have a great
everyone.
weekend.
Thanks, Brian. It was great.
Yeah, this was amazing.
Yeah.
It was fun.